When I say liberal identity politics, I mean an overemphasis on identity that completely ignores class and frames liberation as something that can be attained just by putting people with marginalized identities into more positions of power while keeping the current systems of oppression intact. It is the reduction of systemic oppression to a matter of identity and representation and ignores the economic system that generates that oppression. Liberal identity politics believes that liberating marginalized people can be done by simply reforming capitalism and by changing the faces of power rather than the structures of power. That is because liberalism aims to maintain the capitalist status quo and uses liberal identity politics to get us to believe that the status quo can be reformed by breaking the glass ceiling and getting a black president or a woman president or whatever. As a Marxist or a leftist or whatever you are, you should know that that's obviously not how anything works. Not because identity isn't important, but because class is deeply intertwined with all these issues, and because in a bourgeois liberal democracy or a dictatorship of the bourgeoisie, same thing, society works for the bourgeoisie and upholds capital. It doesn't matter who's in charge, the system upholds capital regardless. Saying that racism and white supremacy is a problem is not liberal identity politics. Saying that if we just had more women in positions of power, that would solve everything is liberal identity politics. Saying that homophobia is a problem is not liberal identity politics. Saying that we need more gay and bisexual war criminals, politicians, is liberal identity politics. Again, liberalism is about changing who has the power within the existing system while keeping the system completely intact. Leftism is about changing the distribution of political power and equalizing it by changing the relations of production and dismantling the class system that requires racism, patriarchy, homophobia, ableism, etc. to function. And that means changing the relations of production from private ownership of the means of production to collective ownership of the means of production so everyone runs society collectively instead of being beholden to the whims of a few rich guys. Which also obviously means fighting to stop the continued exploitation of the global south and having international solidarity with workers and oppressed people worldwide. It means fighting for a free Palestine, Congo, Sudan, opposing US intervention in foreign countries, struggling for peace worldwide. Because as leftists, we side with oppressed people worldwide. Which also means siding with the oppressed people fighting for their rights in your own country.